And so they can say, not right now, or that they can wait for that opening. And in fact, Darko Stevanovic, who I mentioned earlier, was the person who really helped me as an extrovert and who thinks through talking. I have to talk to internalize things. So he never interrupted, okay? And so then I just had to just sit there and be quiet so he would speak, right? Even in our one-on-ones. And then he had triplet girls, and he had to learn to interrupt. All right, so, but I want to say that the best solutions did not come from the smartest people in the room or the average IQ of the team. They came from these other things, okay? All right, here's another thing that says collaborate well. Here's the average number of authors per paper over time from 1950 to when we ended Steve and I did this analysis on the ACM paper citations. And all is up and going number. And if you look at more mature sciences like physics, this number is even crazy, right? Much higher. So in our field though, the top schools, Berkeley, CMU, MIT, and Stanford, are publishing papers with more authors on them, all right? And it's not necessarily a signal of quality, but it is a signal that collaboration at the top places and many of the top papers are higher rather than lower.
So looking at the previous slide, I think it's a very common observation that regardless of what kind of setting you're in, interactions tend to be very political distributed. For example, in this lecture, if you plot the graph, all those who ask questions, it's probably like 5 people asking 95% of the questions.
That's right.
This is even true in like reasonably sized WhatsApp groups or Discord groups or even very small teams. So I guess since you want more interactions, you guys want it to be more evenly distributed. Have you seen any situations where this is not the case and where interactions are more distributed?
So if you're in a large group, you can't have everybody talk, right? So how do you manage to get good inputs is you have to break into smaller working groups and give people the opportunity. But like in leadership has to have an opportunity to weigh in, and so then you want as many people in the room being able to hear directly from their leaders. But to have more equality, you need those smaller meetings to make that work. So it's a trade-off. Like, is this the best way to learn? Is lecturing? No. Doing like at real school, right? You should like have a little exercise in every single lecture that you give, for example, so that people are engaging in a different way than just listening to people talking, right? So, great point, right? But here we are talking about if 4 people are on a paper, right? They need to interact and talk to each other, and this is a great way, learnings from that to apply to your modest-sized group that's working on a paper together, right? And so this is more applicable in your early research career, and even if you remain a professor, it remains applicable for a long time, right? Because you are working in the smaller groups. In a company like Google, you have to create those small groups for yourself, right? Because otherwise, there's too many people in the room, because you need to also be inclusive of all the people who care about this topic and give them an opportunity. And then the other way you can do it is Google Docs has just been an astonishing change for me. I worked in LaTeX. You didn't put comment, like you couldn't comment and then have somebody respond. And so the ability to share a doc and have multiple people laying their opinions out and responding to them also worked for me. And then another nice piece of evidence for research collaboration about being better with women is citations. Mixed gender patents in all areas get cited more as one measure of quality and impact, compared to all men patents but all women patents don't get cited as much. And is that because they're worse? I doubt it. All right, so the myth, women are not interested in computing. Here's the art analogy. In the Metropolitan Museum of Art, less than 5% of the artists are women, but 85% of the nudes are female. So that says really bad things about our culture. Nobody says women aren't interested in art. Women are interested in computing, art, film, and fashion, yet women aren't represented equally in all these areas. It's a pipeline problem. That's not right either. My year is that the 36% of women got computer science degrees in 1985 when I got my degree. We don't have 36% of women in leadership in the computing industry today. We need research culture. So there's me. I finally got a girl because my oldest son married a girl. So I've had a really great, blessed career working with great people who were open and collaborative, but I've also had quite a few jerks in my career. And I think my childhood and my parents said do the right thing all the time, and you'll get resistance from that, and that really made a big difference for sticking to my guns a lot. So I started at Rice University, and I got all my degrees there, and then I did a postdoc in France for a year. That was my first sabbatical. It was awesome. And so taking downtime. And then I started at UMass Amherst. After a year, I had my first child, Cooper, over there on the far right. And then for some reason, me and my husband said we're greedy and had 3. I was super fortunate that my husband is an artist and did the heavy lifting at home, was a stay-at-home dad. And so that really enabled me to have the career that I've had. So much family support from my husband and my children. And when asked if they think I should switch with dad and be the stay-at-home parent, all the times they were quizzed, they didn't agree with that. Then I was at UT, and as you saw in my my technical talk today, I spent a lot of time in academia working on problems that were relevant to industry. And many of my ideas got put into industrial systems, but I didn't have anything to do with it. And so that seemed an opportunity to me. So I went to Microsoft Research thinking I could get the best of both worlds, and that didn't work out for a couple of reasons. And so then I went to Google Cloud, where I changed topics and worked on trying to help grow the business and still make money in terms of how many computers we buy and also how we run our node software. All right, so my PhD school culture was very diverse. So my advisor, Ken Kennedy, had at some point more women students than had 30% of his PhD students were women, so a pretty high number. And there's some of them at supercomputing. And I made deep, close personal friendships at Rice. Preston Briggs on the far right, who worked on register allocation. I still see him. He lives in Seattle. We see each other all the time. Mary Hall, that picture is in my virtual book club, so I talk to her every 6 weeks. And Xiao Wen, who was my office mate and co-author, we're going on vacation together with a bunch of other Rice people in August. So you, in grad school, you have less responsibilities. Other than that, you will make these kinds of friendships. And they and their collaborations and friendships, right? So that deep, long personal relationships are worth making now when you have more time. Now, like, I don't even meet anybody anymore, and much less have deeper conversations with. So take this chance and opportunity in grad school to build those. All right, so I'm going to abuse my time slot by 4 more minutes, if that's okay. Thank you. So I failed my qualifying exams. And so I should drop out of grad school, right? And I go into Bill Golson's office and I say, I'm not going to drop out of grad school because I failed my exams. And he goes, no, you shouldn't do that. We think you can make it. And really, "we" was not the right word. It was, I think you can. and Bill didn't get tenure at Rice, but I believed him, and he encouraged me. And then I passed my exams, so that was great. So that's another, help the people around you. They're gonna fail. You're gonna fail. You need to be resilient to that. I'm not getting to that part of the talk, but on the CRAW website is a talk about research mindset. The rest of this talk was going to be, but won't be, because I did more GC. And I welcome you to go through that talk and think about how you think about your successes and failures, and how to anticipate failures, because you're always going to have some papers that don't get in the first time, or maybe ever. And so how you deal with that and are resilient and learn from your mistakes for predictable events in your research life, that's a really important thing to think about. And I think our culture on publishing or perishing is not equal to publish at all costs. And right now, I think there's even more pressure on all of you to publish a lot. I've had different phases of my career where I've published more or less. And then right now, I'm in a phase where I publish maybe 1 paper a year if I'm lucky. So think about the perverse incentives leading to perverse behaviors, all right? And examine, is this the right unit to publish? Be mindful of how your incentives are affecting your behavior and those around you, and check your own motivations about, is this paper ready? Is this what I want to represent? I've always focused on trying to speak as clearly as possible when I'm presenting work, but also to write the clearest papers. And what do I learn by writing the paper? I always learn a ton from writing the paper, and if I'm not learning that, it's not fun for me. So I just, is your advisor producing healthy motivations, good balance? And if that's not happening, check on that. Are you in a healthy environment? If not, try to get in a healthier environment. All right. Let's see. Let's just go back to, I'm a happy person most days. And have had a great career and moved at different times and still have friends everywhere I used to work. So thank you for your attention today.